Why is our population overweight, obese, unhealthy, tired, exhausted, frustrated, anxious, right? All of those things. So we try to develop conceptually ways to both market, but most importantly, offer an opportunity for people to do something about it. And here's the reality: it's hard work.
Welcome back to the Fit Insider Podcast. I'm your host, Joe Veneri. Today I'm joined by Crunch Fitness CEO Jim Rowley. In this episode, we discuss the future of gym franchises, including the role of group classes, wellness offerings, recovery, and more. Plus, Jim shares his take on GLP-1’s like Ozempic and why Crunch plans to avoid obesity drugs. Let's get into it. Before we get into the episode, I want to tell you about a new service we launched. Every business leader knows hiring is hard. That's why we created Fitt Talent. It's a specialized recruitment firm helping health, fitness, and wellness companies hire world-class talent. We tap the Fit Insider community and our broader network to place high performers in impactful roles. If you're planning your next hire, visit talent.fit.co to learn more about our recruiting services and get started today. Hi, Jim. Welcome to Fit Insider. Thanks for joining us.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah, lots to get into, and I think most listeners are familiar with Crunch Fitness. The brand is synonymous with the industry in so many ways, but maybe to kick things off, can you just talk about the kind of current state of the business, number of locations, how kind of the year has played out, given that we're at the tail end of 2023, and yeah, we can jump in more detail from there.
Yeah. Well, it's played out great. I think even better than expected. We've got north of 460 locations, nearing 2.6 million members, and excited about the year that we're ending. But I think more excited about the year that lays ahead. The plans we've been working on for the better part of the last 18 months are starting to bear fruit, and really anticipating what I would say is probably going to be the biggest year in the history of Crunch.
Wow. Do you think, I mean, obviously we've been through a transitional period kind of across the broader fitness industry, pandemic closures, foot traffic coming back, getting back to a lot of places talking about membership levels surpassing where they had been previously. You say a great year in 2023. What do you attribute that to? And how do you think about continuing that momentum going into the new year?
Well, I attribute it really to the brand's resonance, our strong franchisees. Our franchisees are really strong, highly capable, great operators. They follow the system that we've developed. And I think that there's an attraction to Crunch, not only the originator of the no judgments philosophy, but just our culture, right? Our culture is really deep into being a community-based fitness club, right? Where there's a social aspect, there's an experience aspect, there's fun, right? We try to bring fun into that. And the way we design our clubs, the way we think about meeting the member toward where their expectations are is critically important. But look, there's a lot of fitness gyms out there. There's a lot of competition, but how many of them really have a soul, have something that they can stand behind? How many have a personality? How many of them by association really attract the members, not just through price or location, but through their personality? I think that's an important element of Crunch. And, we identify our current member base as young, strong, and social. It's not to say that we don't have members who maybe wouldn't be classified as young, but the heart of our market is young, strong, and social. And there's a mass appeal to be aligned with a brand that is likely aligned with your values.
Yeah, absolutely. There's, I mean, so many things that you mentioned there, the kind of no judgment approach, the being social, having community, having a personality. A lot of these things, when you look across the landscape, different brands and operators take a different approach to all of them. Some are more important than others. Some lean in, like you're saying, around the social, the younger generation. How do you kind of get that not only to resonate with the franchisees, but also with the member on the other side? You're scaling up locations, you're thinking about how do we open these doors, get them operational, make sure people are kind of following the playbook. So translating that in a way that it comes through when you think about, from where you are in the kind of CEO role and then disseminating that throughout the entire organization. How do you think about making sure that that comes through and it is what continues to differentiate the brand?
Well, think first of all, it's leader led, right? It's something that I'm incredibly passionate about. I love this industry, and I love this business. So it starts in my office that we develop a culture, and that culture has philosophies, and it's got a mission, and it's got a value perspective, and so forth. And we try to permeate that through the entire network. It's choosing the right franchisees who aren't going to have their own values or their own influences and so forth, that they align with the Crunch value system and the mission. I think it's exporting a lot from the New York base, right? So this brand was born in New York. Next year we celebrate 35 years. And how do we keep this no judgments to us is not a tagline, right? It's a philosophical fundamental part of our business, and it's something that's instrumental. You can see it, it's pervasive in our training, it's pervasive in our site visits, it's pervasive in our national convention and so forth. And it's meaningful to us. So if it's authentic, organic, and meaningful, it's not a tagline you put on the wall and make people memorize. We have people live this, and we have our members experience it. So how do we meet the members there? Through our marketing, through our social media campaigns, through Crunch Plus. But most importantly, what's the experience that's associative in your in-gym check-in, your workout, your exit, and everything else?
Yeah, absolutely. When you think about, there's a different kind of pillars when you just look at the fitness space more broadly and get into gyms. You mentioned the social aspect. Of course, there's group fitness, there's services that you're offering at the locations, there's the digital aspect. We can kind of talk about maybe the retail and picking locations separately, but down each of those paths, when it comes to the programming, when it comes to the services, how are you kind of identifying and keeping up with or getting ahead of trends to make sure this is what's resonating with the members, and these are the types of things that we want to be able to offer throughout all the locations?
Look, I mean, I think trends come and go. I'm not a trend hopper. I never have been. I've had the good fortune of being able to be at the tip of the spear and understanding the consumer's expectations. You know why? I work out. I go to the gyms. I have expectations. I have children that were raised as athletes. Now they're young adults. They share with me kind of what they're looking for and so forth. We do consumer insight, and we really try to meet the member where they are. So we've been innovative from that standpoint. We're not about following a trend. We're about starting a trend, being innovative. So if you look at our floor space and the way we're designing our gyms, we created this construct years ago when we started to see things. So now the members like, oh, they have exactly what I'm looking for. Do all of my gyms represent that? No, because there's remodels, there's refreshes, there's things that you have to do to keep up. But the majority of our gyms are meeting the expectations of the consumer. The fitness floor has changed. Cardio has reduced from maybe 100 units of cardio down to 50. Open floor space is categorically a big opportunity now, which is ironic because before we wanted every square foot filled with equipment. Now the members want open floor space. Our programming at Crunch is proprietary and unique. We choreograph that to kind of what's hot, what's now, what's interesting, and also try to forecast what's going to be interesting going forward. The Olympic weightlifting platforms and so forth, the use of free weights, technology, all of these things. If you sit and wait to see what's going to happen, you're late, right? So we try to push the boundary. And I've had the good fortune, as I said earlier, I feel like I've been out in front of it. And I've been seeing these things for a while. I was building turf spaces and hit zones in the early 2000s. I mean, come on. If you're late to that, that game's almost over at this point.
Yeah, from that perspective, when you think about it, sounds like you there's kind of the ideal now in terms of what you think is resonating with consumers, how you kind of construct those gym floors, the makeup of equipment, the access to different experiences, modalities. Going forward, do you anticipate that changing a whole lot in 2024? Are there already things that you've identified to say, this is what's going in the newest locations? These are the things that we want to not only having identified those trends, but kind of setting the trend down these paths?
We developed our 2024 floor plan. It was done and baked by June of this year. So the new clubs that we open for 2024 and 2025 will have all of this already built into it. And then we have a remodel spec for people who need to change their layouts, kind of the use of the square footage and so forth, their design. So we've got two. We've got kind of what the new box is going to look like and what a remodel box is going to look like. But here's a brutal reality. Our industry hasn't changed dramatically in 50 years, right? Do you still have cardio? Yes. Do you still have free weights? Yes. Do you still have group fitness? In our brand, group fitness is a core part of our business. One in every four members is taking a group fitness class. How do we innovate on personal training, And then you start to look at the nuances that are new, right? Relax and recover, meditation, mindfulness. They're not new per se. They've been around for a long time, but they're critically more important. Breath work. Breath work is something that we've really been working on. So how do we reduce stress for our members and so forth? So that's class introduction, workouts, and so forth. But yeah, to answer your question, we were working on this project a year ago. It was baked by June of this year, and the 2024 gyms that we're going to open will all be embracing this kind of the new elements.
Yeah, from the gyms and the formats, there's been a couple other, if you want to call them trends or just kind of shifts more broadly. Obviously, identifying retail locations and taking over potentially in malls or big boxes or other places that are now vacated. There's also smaller formats, maybe thinking about, hey, what does a smaller footprint look like, as well as like the boutique in gym concept. Obviously, Crunch, the group fitness classes are already part of that, but now incorporating more group fitness, more recovery, as you said. Are you also thinking about, hey, how does this, overall size change? How do the formats change? Do we think about where we're putting these locations? How is that all kind of shifting as well?
Look, I've said this before. My philosophy is if you stay ready, you never have to get ready, right? So we look at smaller footprints. We look at kind of our sweet spot. We look at bigger boxes. A lot of our best franchisees are going much bigger than we originally anticipated when we launched this business. So bigger is not always necessarily better, but because one of the headwinds we're facing is a lack of inventory, right? There's not really a big surplus of 25,000 square foot boxes that fit perfectly. They park well, they're secure, they're at Main and Main or Main at First and everything else. So we've had to reinvent that. I think that's what you're bringing up. So reimagining, imagine the mall from the 80s, imagine the mall from the 90s and the mall today. I mean, it's just, it hasn't changed at all, but now it has to. So, how do you reimagine it from an experiential standpoint? So, of course, we're talking to all the landlords and big mall owners and so forth, and because they're forced to repurpose. 100,000 square foot Macy's is a thing of the past, right? So, what do they do with these giant boxes? So that's part of our plan as well. But the big thing is anticipating kind of the bridge between technology and brick and mortar and so forth. And we like to say that we are a boutique in many ways. We have everything under one roof, right? So we offer group fitness, we offer personal training, we have ride in many of our studios, we have hot yoga, we have Pilates, we have hit zones, we have all these things. I think that's the beauty of Crunch. It's everything under one roof for a very low price.
You mentioned that the industry in many ways hasn't changed in a number of years. And so there are aspects when you think about, hey, what do we focus on? Where do we allocate our time? What is important? You mentioned the personality, the soul, the community, now continuing to evolve in terms of the modalities and what's offered. Are there other things that, if you think about, like, because it is not redoing this, building it from scratch, in many ways, it is, you have to deliver this core value proposition. How do you think about where you focus your time, where you focus your team's time, and how that kind of moves the needle at the end of the day?
Joe, it's all I think about. It's my constant, kind of creative thought process. Look, as the CEO, my job is to steward the brand, right? But also to be the visionary behind it, develop strategies and tactics that the teams can execute. I'm fortunate to have a great team that can do those things. They bring new ideas and so forth. A lot of ideas come from the members. But here's what grounds me. We've got more information related to the scientific benefits of leading a health and fitness lifestyle, right? We have more information on the importance of nutrition. We have more information on the importance of sleep, right? We're learning more and more every day about how the impact of muscle and how that relates to longevity, how inflammation is a killer for longevity, all these things. Meanwhile, we're more overweight and obese than we've ever been. We're more tired than we've ever been, right? So, how do I create an environment that allows people that are feeling stressed, that are walking around inflamed, that just don't feel good, let alone feel great, that maybe have gained weight, maybe they've reached a point of overweight or obese, and how do we attract them into the gym, knowing we've got the answer, right? So that's the biggest thing I think about. Is it marketing? Is it pricing? Is it location? Is it continuing to permeate the airwaves with the information? The information's out there. Everybody knows. Why do we resist it? Why is our population overweight, obese, unhealthy, tired, exhausted, frustrated, anxious, right? All of those things. So we try to develop conceptually ways to both market, but most importantly, offer an opportunity for people to do something about it. And here's the reality: it's hard work. It's hard work, and we live kind of in this generation now where we want things to be easy, right? You want to see something on TV, Netflix, Hulu, Max. It's a touch of a button away. You want something delivered to your home, it's a DoorDash away or an Uber Eats or whatever. So there's a life of convenience out there, which I think is creating some of our lifestyle issues. So we continue to try to develop concepts that are attractive to people. And then it goes back to the original thing that we discussed: a no judgments philosophy. All comers are welcome. It's not about your race. It's not about your income. It's not about your religion. It's not about any of those things. It's not about your position in life. It's about all of us being humanly interested in each other. And we have a solution for that.
Two things you mentioned there: this kind of holistic approach to health, which is certainly important and resonates with the consumer, but is also necessary because we need it and we are feeling a lot of the things that you mentioned. And two is this like instant gratification society that we're living in. And that has obviously taken us down a path now where you're talking about obesity drugs, now gyms starting getting into prescribing these medications, Ozempic, semaglutide, longevity clinics, medically integrated services. You don't strike me as someone who kind of gravitates towards quick fixes or magic pills and things like that. But how do you think about this shift? Is it an opportunity? Is it potentially a trap? And what that means for crunch in the industry in general?
It's a great question. It's very timely. 2 hours ago, I had a phone call to kind of discuss all these GLP-1 drugs and so forth. And there was an interesting stat that was shared that 60% of people that responded to this survey said that they would take these drugs, right? And it's alarming for me. I'm not a medical expert. I don't work for the FDA. I'm not a big fan of big pharma. I'd rather be a big fan of big pharma, right? So we're getting healthy foods and nutrition and so forth. It makes me a little nervous. It's not something we're going to entertain, but we're going to be there for the people that do these, like an Ozempic or something. We're going to be there because we know that there's muscle wasting and other things that happen to you physically, and we're going to be there to help you get through not necessarily the side effects, but the effects of taking those drugs. There's a corollary effect. And how can we help? Well, we've got personal training, we've got group fitness, we've got all the other things I've listed, which will help you build the strength and the muscle and so forth that's necessary while you're taking those drugs. Are we going to administer it? No, we're not. Look, I don't know that gyms are the place that we should be dispensing these things, but that's just my personal opinion. If some of these big institutions out there want to incorporate that for their members, that's up to them. But personally, no, we still believe in the fundamental reality, which is generally things that are really worthwhile take a level of discipline in order to get them. They take a level of achievement. They take, the mental drive to go after them. And I'm the first one to tell you, with in a world where we're in hyper consumption and the speed of that consumption is important. Working out is not there. Working out is going to the gym 3 or more times a week, getting 30 to 60 minutes of exercise, even if that's just moving, is critically important. I've said this before. Sitting is the new smoking. A sedentary lifestyle is killing us, and especially when we're taking and consuming all these calories that we know are bad for us, right? Because we want to comfort ourselves because our minds aren't still. And the best thing we can do to still the mind is a workout, even a moderate workout. The only bad workout is the one you didn't do, right? So we want to appeal. It's not lost on me, right? You have to drive to the gym or you have to log into Crunch Plus if you want to do it at home. And you've got to put some effort towards that. But the payback on that effort is tremendous. And we don't believe there's an easy fix.
Yeah, I also find myself in that camp that the value is beyond even the, you know, physical transformation. It's beyond the benefits, the aesthetic, the muscle. It is the mental benefit. It is the escape. To the putting in the hard work in itself is kind of the reward, knowing that you can do hard things, knowing that you can kind of struggle and sacrifice for something. And so I also worry like what happens when that goes away or if that goes away. But on the flip side of that, there's this, does it put, whether it's Crunch or anybody else, like does it put you at a disadvantage if other places are prescribing them, integrating them into the offering or membership because people do gravitate towards the quick fix. Now you have to think about, you know, yeah, it is difficult to go to the gym, put in the work, struggle, but this other place down the street is making it a whole lot easier to do. Have you gotten that kind of that far down the path of like playing it out? Hey, this is potentially an existential threat, whether it's through the drug itself or competitors who are willing to leverage it.
No, because I lead this company on a proposition of set values, and those values don't include a quick fix of something that's unknown. That that'd be like saying during the opioid crisis, all these doctors were making this money by dispensing a drug that was killing hundreds of thousands of Americans. Are you upset that you didn't dispense opioids for pain relief? No, right? Because our Constitution is greater than that, right? We stand behind our product. We also stand behind what you just said. The gratification of knowing that you put in the hard work and the results you're getting are the benefit of that hard work. We all need more of that, right? We don't need more of the easy way out, or I took this drug and it got me to a certain point. I don't even think we understand all the ramifications of what that's doing to ourselves holistically, right? So no, I will never say that I should have sold a GLP-1 drug in Crunch and dispensed it to make more money. No.
Yeah, absolutely. Um, Kind of changing gears, a couple more questions before we get you out of here. Uh, the Crunch Plus has come up a couple times in terms of the digital platform. Obviously, again, we went through a wave where digital and at home was everything, and this is the future. And now it's very much shifted back to being kind of a complement or being omnipresent. So, meeting users, exercisers where they are. How does this factor into the future, and what kind of benefits are you seeing both for the business and for members?
It factors in exactly what you articulated. It's a complement to our brick and mortar business. I don't think that if you look at any of the big fitness companies, has anybody knocked it out of the park with their digital component? No, because there's a relative isolation associated with that. I still maintain that despite the fact that it's hard work, despite the fact that it takes a little bit of effort, it's unbelievable to work out around your community. It's unbelievable to make friends and new acquaintances in a 3 mile ring of where you live or where you work, where you shop, where you go to the movies, all those things, to associate with those people. The social connection is so powerful. And if we've learned anything from COVID, we've learned that the fabric of socialization was nearly destroyed through the isolation of COVID. So I think it's a compliment when you just can't get to the gym, when you're traveling and you're in a hotel, or when the weather is prohibiting you from driving to the gym or whatever. We want Crunch Plus to be a complement to that, and that's why we've got over 200 classes. And again, these aren't just cardio classes or group fitness classes. We've got breath work on there. We've got meditation. We've got HIIT classes, strength classes. I had the team do one specifically for me because I'm an aging weightlifter, right? So everything's tight and constricted. So we have a class called the Old Man Stretch Club, right? And that's just for people that might be feeling a little tight in their hamstrings or their calves or their shoulders or their lower back and hips and things like that. And we try to make it fun, right? Try to make it experiential. And I want to go back to the Ozempic thing too, because I also don't believe that I think strong is replacing skinny in the mindset of most people. And to be skinny looking, but to be unhealthy is not a desired output, right? But and to be strong, to be physically strong and mentally strong and capable of doing things, pushing your body is critically more important. And in the existence of life, we're only here for a short time, right? I don't want to be skinny and sick. I want to be strong and happy, and I want to socialize with people, and I want all those experiences to happen. And I want to sweat. I want to sweat for my equity, right? And the equity is the outcome, the physical outcome, the manifestation of what your goal was to change your body. It takes time. Look, it takes 21 days to make or break a habit. So you've got to commit to those first 21 workouts in the first month, really, to really set your body in motion.
Yeah, this leadership at the top. the personality that permeating through the business is certainly coming through in that perspective. And I think it's one that's kind of much needed because, yeah, at the end of the day, it's not easy, but it is rewarding in so many levels to be able to feel that way about yourself, be able to know that you can kind of perform, you can do hard things. And like I said, all of that certainly resonates. For folks who are just listening and not watching, you have a hat behind you that says EBITDA, which is great. And kind of thinking about that, when you think about the growth and the trajectory of the business, the last couple of years, we've seen companies in the fitness space go public. Some have performed well, some have performed not so well. When you think about the trajectory for Crunch, does that look like a public offering? Does it look like reaching a certain number of locations and franchises and then kind of worrying about it? How do you think about yeah, just the growth kind of financially and potentially even in the public market?
We're breaking every revenue record we've ever had. We're breaking our EBITDA records. Our franchisees are doing fantastic. They're very healthy. They're trading at incredible values and multiples. I think we'll explore them at the right time. Economic conditions, market conditions are always going to play a role in that. But we just want to be in a position where we're ready for all those possibilities. We've got a great partner in TPG. They've been with us since 2019. Imagine 9 months after they bought the company, we had to close the majority of the company due to COVID, right? So you want to test your financial sponsor? Close your business 9 months after they purchase it, right? And they've been tremendous. Really, the health of this organization is our 75 plus franchise owners, right? They really are the ones that are continuing to grow the company through their excellence, their extreme ownership, and the way they go about things. But mostly because their aligned vision and values and principles are aligned with the company. And that's the best partnership. It's not really this tenuous franchisee franchisor relationship. It's true partnerships where we don't just talk about the business. We don't talk about the future growth. We talk about marriages. We talk about children being born. We talk about great vacations. We talk about successful stories of their families and so forth. And that's the most critical part. Look, I've been doing this a lot. I'm going into my 33rd year. I'm about humanizing this business, right? I'm about getting all of the experiences that we can and leading the best fitness brand there is. Are we perfect? No. Do we strive for incredible success? We absolutely do. And that's done through significant partnerships with our franchise owners, to be honest with you. And I just, I get the good fortune of leading the organization, and I've got a clear vision of where I want to take it, and it could be many of the things that you mentioned. And I'll let you know when the timing as we knock on that door.
We'll be following along, waiting to see how it continues to play out. As we wrap up, we've covered a lot today, and even started the conversation by saying, you think in many ways 2024 is going to be an even better year, a lot to look forward to. Is there anything you would kind of point out or point us to look forward to as we get into that? Anything that we didn't cover that you wanted to kind of call attention to?
I think I'll wait for it to play out. I think there's some excitement uh, in letting the stories unveil. There's going to be things that Crunch is recognized for in the franchise space. There's going to be things that we're recognized for in the retail space. And there's going to be a significant amount of openings going forward. And there's some other things that I just would rather let unfold as they come. I think that I'm not trying to create suspense per se, but I think there's something amazing about just letting things reveal themselves.
Fantastic. Yeah. Well, we will be following along, like we said, with the seeing how things play out in terms of the trajectory and growth. Anywhere in terms of social media, website, you would call out, direct people, have them check out.
I mean, Crunch Gym on Instagram, crunch.com is a place to find all things. If you want to become a franchise owner, if you want to learn more about the business, our history, our background, if you want to see our other social media sites, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, and everything else, they're on there. If you want to find your nearest location, you can do that as well. So I really appreciate you having me on. I love your focus on our industry and fitness in general, and I think it comes from a very positive place. And we need more people spreading the word because we need to get healthier as a country, mentally and physically.
Absolutely. We appreciate you making some time today to share your insights and really excited to share this conversation.
And look for us in 2024 on one marketing piece that kind of ties all this together. Crunch is a place where you can feel the good, not the bad. And we're surrounded by a lot of bad. Crunch is a place where you can feel the good. Look for that to come to your doorstep or your monitor or your phone in 2024. Feel the good.
Absolutely. We'll leave it there. Thanks so much, Jim.
Thank you.
One more thing before you head out. Help us spread the word. Take a minute to rate and review the podcast, subscribe to the YouTube channel, or share this episode with a friend. And if you like conversations like this, you'll love the Fit Insider newsletter. We send it every Tuesday. The link is in the description. Thanks again for listening. We'll see you back here next week.